Hey folks, Jeff DePaoli here from the Dizney Coast to Coast podcast, and I think it is pretty undeniable movies of all time is Disney's Hocus Pocus, and I am so thrilled. Today I am joined by a couple of fantastic people who made this movie. First one I'm going to bring in is William Sandell, who was the production designer of Hocus Pocus. Hello, William, and welcome to the Midsummer Scream live stream.
Hey, Jeff. Fun to be here.
Thank you so much. You set up such a fun show and tell today. This is your home, man, and you have so much cool stuff.
It kind of looks like this all the time anyway, so it wasn't.
I love it. Now, of course, for Hocus Pocus, you had the great pleasure of shooting very close to where I grew up in Salem, Massachusetts. But some of it was actually shot here in Los Angeles. In fact, down the street from where I am right now at the Walt Disney Studios. Some people might not know that Witch's Cabin is entirely created by you and your team and designed by you.
Oh yeah, I have pictures here. I was working with Cal DiValerio and his crew of painters and carpenters. Every piece of wood was hand hewn. Rosemary Brandenburg, the great decorator, was decorating it, and But here's what it looks like on stage. I dug out some pictures. That's on the big stage at Disney when they're building it. So we're laying in all the roads and the topography that'll eventually be the forest. And I mean, I think you remember a couple of years ago on stage when you were hosting, Thora Birch said when she was 10 years old walking on this stage, it was quite a experience for a 10-year-old.
Didn't you even bring in dirt from New England or something, or what? You brought in some real pieces of New England, right?
Well, there were certain trees and certain foliage that we needed, and we kept shipping big truckloads back from Salem, back from Marblehead. So I never know if I'm destroying the illusion showing the behind-the-scenes pictures, but it was really quite a set. I mean, you and I have talked about it. It was a happy set. It was a great set. We were going to work for months living Halloween. So how much cooler can it get for people that love Halloween? And
it's totally true. Like, there are so many people who, worked on this film now that I've spoken to, and all of the cool thing about it is every single one of you are so passionate about the Halloween season and had so much fun making this movie, which isn't always the case. So it's kind of great to hear, as a fan of Hocus Pocus, that you all love it as much as we do.
I'd worked for Kenny Ortega, the director, on Newsies at Disney, and I'd worked on a Bette Midler, Lily Tomlin picture there at Buena Vista at Disney. We did big sets there for Bette Midler on Big Business. And I was always bugging the studio to try to find me a Halloween script, because I was dying to do a Halloween story. And sure enough, this popped up, and the execs there, Bruce Hendricks and Mike Futrell, all those guys, they said, well, go bug your friend Kenny. You just did a picture with him. If he'll do it, maybe he'll hire you back. So I was bugging Kenny all the time. He was getting mad at me because he was trying to score Newsies, and I kept pleading with him to do this because I had a good shot, because we had a good relationship on Newsies. So I knew from day one this would be a perennial Halloween favorite and show on TV every year, like I watched Wizard of Oz every year when I was a kid. So I just knew it.
And then it certainly is.
I read the script. Yeah.
William, why don't you show us those? I love those photos you have of Bette Midler there, because those are some of her early makeup tests, right?
Well, yeah, this was kind of fun. I got a call in my office, and from Bette's assistant, and Bette wanted me to come down to her makeup room right away. She was there was a bit of a tug and pull between the studio and Bette. Bette wanted to be a witch. She loved being a witch. It's still one of her favorite characters in a film that she's played. She says that all the time. She dresses up as Winifred at her big New York fundraiser sometimes, and they wanted her to be Bette. They're paying all this money for Bette, right? And she wanted to be a witch, so she kept trying on teeth for me and trying on different hairdos. So I kept a lot of the pictures. I mean, here she is. She was making, that's Mary Vogt, the great Mary Vogt in the back there, with the red hair, the costume designer, who did all those wonderful costumes for the girls. But that was so funny. She kept spinning around in her chair and trying to scare Mary and I. Different teeth, and and it's she's such a character, Bet, and she's so sweet, and she loved that role so much. But here's some of Bet trying to figure out how to be Bet. I borrowed some of this back from the Sugarmint Gallery in South Pass. It has a lot of my Hocus Pocus collection there. But isn't that great? I mean, she was so sweet, so terrific.
That is very cool. Thank you for holding all of this stuff up for us as well. I know we're making you go through all your stuff there, but I do see a very important piece there. I see book.
Yeah, I ended up with a book. Not too many of these around.
Okay. So any fan of Hocus Pocus knows that this is a character from the movie. What version is this? Because there were several versions of the book on screen, correct?
This was a stand-in book that the kids used to, when they were running at a distance and, caught in the rain, caught in the water, in the elements. I think Orlando, Disney, and their world may have the one with the eyeball working. Maybe Kenny Ortega has the other one. I'm not sure where that one went, but I've got the only one around here that I know of. So
that one was actually seen on screen, right?
Oh, many times, yeah.
Yeah, very, very, very cool. Now, you have some behind-the-scenes photos. I know that you were lucky enough to go to Salem, as I said, in that whole New England area and shoot good portions of the film, and you have some pretty cool behind-the-scenes photos to share with us, right?
Well, I don't have the photos from Salem.
Oh, okay, no worries. I thought you had the one of the kid's house, and I know there was a beach on there because there were some scenes that were cut. Ah, yeah, there we go.
This is a great one of Kenny when I was showing him the house that we picked. Those people are so sweet. The couple still owns it, but we were looking for a beach, out in front of the house, because there was an extended scene with Max and his father having a father-son chat on the beach. So there were a number of houses. I do have pictures of those that we, brought to Kenny to look at. And this one got the nod. And now family has people shooting the house, the Dennison house, constantly. So it's kind of fun.
Listen, I've gone and gotten my photo in front of it for sure. So very cool. Now, in a couple minutes, we're going to be bringing in David Kirschner, who is the creator producer of Hocus Pocus. But I want you to show. Oh, good. David can watch this as well. Show some of this artwork, William, that you have that was created by David.
Well, I don't know that David even knew I'd saved his drawings that he drew until we had coffee last year. But it was so interesting to me when we were flying back to Boston to do our Scouts of Salem. I'm sitting next to David. He's the producer and the writer of the short story. Such a cool guy, and so talented. And he starts drawing the whole movie next to me. Pulls a big pad out and I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, I gotta really deliver for this guy because he can draw it and write it. And so I saved some of his drawings. The very first drawings before Giacomo Giazza started doing all his wonderful keyframes, David starts drawing like this is the kids going through the thing. He's, what do you think? What do you think? And I'm like in awe. And I still am in awe. So I had him pinned in my office for inspiration. And then at the end of I finally framed him a few years ago because, can you imagine I'm watching the whole movie being drawn for me on this airplane and he finishes drawing one, gets in the crew van to go scout Marblehead the next day and he's got another couple done for me. So I'm just was really digging it, I just thought it was so cool.
Very cool. Well, let's bring David Kirschner in here right now. Hello, David. Welcome to the Midsummer Scream live stream. How are you?
Good.
Hey,
how
David.
are you? Good to see you.
Now, David, you're the producer and creator. You created the original story of Hocus Pocus, and behind you, I see you got a friend with you, Billy Butcherson there, yeah?
I even did a little trick that I used to do when I was a kid to scare my sister. I took a flashlight and I put it under him so that the light would be okay because we're redoing my office and everything is torn apart. But we moved everything around just so that we can bring Billy with us today and Book and the Black Flame Candle.
Excellent. Now, Billy there in the background, he is created from pieces from the actual film, right? That's not like a recreated Billy. That's one that Tony Gardner worked on, correct?
That's right. And Tony presented this to me after we were done making the film, and it's of all of my props that I have, it's my very favorite thing that anyone has ever given me.
It's very cool. Now, David, did you know about, or do you remember drawing those pictures that William just showed us, or those illustrations?
You know, Bill and I had iced tea at Bob's Big Boy in Burbank, not far from the Disney studio, not too long ago. And he told me about this and then proceeded to bring them out. I'd completely forgotten that had happened. I remember sitting next to Bill, but I'd forgotten that, because I'm always drawing something, but I completely forgot. And I just went home on such a high and saying to my wife, Bill Sandell, of all people, saved my artwork. It made me feel so good.
Oh, that was. I think, David, all the time, what a terrific film that was that we all were on. I mean, I'm still so keen on that film.
I feel the same way, and we were so fortunate to have Kenny and the job that he did. Oh. What the world that you brought to life was just, yeah. I mean, people decorate their homes like that because of what your vision was with it, Bill, and it's well, so Kenny, much fun to see this.
Well, Kenny being a choreographer, I think there's a lot of movement, and it's really interesting. And kind of him getting the nod to do this film, because watching it over the years, well, Bet's a musician, and she probably appreciate that with Kenny, but there's a lot of action and a lot of movement going on that's kind of fun, besides great direction. He's great with the kids too, wasn't he?
He sure was. With everybody.
He's such a pleasure to be around.
It was a very happy set, yeah. And most sets are not really happy. There's always moments of some kind. And this, from beginning to end, there was just, I don't know, people, it was like summer camp. People did not want to go home. They wanted to keep working on it. And yeah. From yeah. Kenny and yourself and the actors and Mary, just so many people that brought so much to it. Stephen Half.
David, I do need to mention your sweater is amazing. Is that your ugly Halloween sweater? Like they have the ugly Christmas sweaters? Is that what we got going on here?
Disney sent this to me, and let's see if I can get up here a little bit. There are the girls.
Oh, so cool.
There's the vacuum and the mop and the broom and Thackeray Binks and Black Flame Candle. There's not a lot of
that's
people
so cool.
Put on a sweater in 96 degrees for, but I'm doing it for you, Jeff DePaoli. So I was excited to break this in because I thought I'll wear it obviously in fall. And then when you invited me to this with Bill, I just thought, I'm going to wear my sweater.
Well, I am honored. It's very cool. I actually haven't seen that before, so I need to get myself one. Very, very cool. But I do think it's very appropriate. Today is August 1st. We are celebrating Halloween, of course, which is totally normal for Hocus Pocus, right? As your film came out in July of 1993 because Disney was saving the October month for The Nightmare Before Christmas. And it's
right.
It's pretty incredible how Hocus Pocus is so related to summer, very much how Midsummer Scream is a summer celebration of this wonderful holiday. Now, David, I do see you have a book with you as well. Tell us about this book, because unlike Williams, which was seen on screen, this is totally different. What is this?
This was the book that I did for my original presentation to Jeffrey Katzenberg, and it's supposedly made out of human skin, and there's an eyeball in it, as you can see. Mine didn't work. I mean, it was just an eye stuck in there, and it was kind of the basis for what Bill and company would design for a book that actually was a character, and his eyeball did move. And they did an amazing job on that because that character is so loved because of what they did.
Now, obviously, you're, an artist. We saw your drawings and such. Did you actually make that book yourself, or was that you?
I did not make. No, this book I did not do. When I did the Black Flame Candle for part of my presentation, and I made two of them. This is what I did which was just paper that I then just put in the oven and kind of toasted it so that it would look like old parchment paper, and used sepia ink, and just kind of drew evil things on this candle from the grocery store, and then wrapped the paper around it. And that was my presentation. But when Disney went to said yes to the film, they used my original candle, and they still have it.
I think William was trying to say something. What's up, William?
Oh, David, you tell such a wonderful story about the pitch to the Disney executives, and making the brooms and the well, what, can you tell it real quick if there's time, Jeff? I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I've always loved the idea. Walt Disney spoke about, before you get on a ride, as you're standing in line at Disneyland or Disney World, there are hints of what the ride's going to be, and how excited you become as you get closer to the front of the line. And Disney has continued to do that for all these years. And so when these executives came in, I had that thought in my mind of what Walt Disney had done, and this was the beginning of the ride in my mind. And what I did was I had 2 witches' broomsticks hanging from the ceiling on monofilament wire, and I had a hollowed out Electrolux vacuum cleaner also hanging from the ceiling with its cord dangling. My wife and I had the kids in the neighborhood draw pictures of black cats and zombies and pumpkins on just a kind of paper bag you'd get from the market. And inside, my wife bought about 20 pounds of candy corn. And I ripped the bottom of the bag, and I kind of made a serpentine line as to where the executives were going to be sitting. And when they walked into the room, I mean, they smelled Halloween. They smelled their childhood. And
so true. So
showed
great.
Storyboards of what scenes that I thought would be fun, and present book and the black flame candle, and proceeded to tell them that Halloween was a business that generated about, at that time, $1 billion a year, and yet there were no movies for families that were kind of a fun Amblin-esque kind of romp. And honestly, I don't even know if they paid attention to the rest of everything I had. I think they heard that it was a $1 billion industry that there were no family movies for, and Jeffrey Katzenberg jumped on it, I think, with that. But today that business has grown, as evidence of us even speaking about it today. Halloween is a $10 billion business, and it just continues to grow. And I think that it makes adults kids again, and kids can become anything that they want to. So that, it's weird. I never thought of this, but just the likes of Bill and Kenny and all the people that came to it, there was just a passion and love for Halloween. And I had no idea that there were grown people like me that still felt the same way about Halloween as I was 10. So all of these people came together in this wonderful summer camp to create this movie with just an absolute love of Halloween, and every person brought something that really touches audiences 27 years later.
Now, David,
are we at 28 years, Jeff?
This is 27 right now.
Oh, this is 27.
Right. Yeah, this is 27. So, David, that fantastic pitch that you were talking about, I'm always amazed by this. Remind me, what year was that you made that initial pitch? Because the movie was released in 1993.
Right. It would be almost just about 9 years later. I pitched it in 1984. And,
wow.
And I thought that was the end of it. I mean, I just, they bought it in the room, but they also were, it just took a long time for it to come together. And when I got the phone call, I almost fell over because I just thought they decided not to move forward with it. But it took 9 years for that to happen.
Yeah, so for folks who don't know, in the entertainment industry, it is very normal for projects to be bought, like they bought Hocus Pocus, and never get made. That's very normal practice. So as you were saying, David, your fear was that, yeah, you got some money from it, but it was never actually going to come to fruition. So thank
Yeah.
goodness it did, right?
And more than the money, it was so important to me to get it made. So I was really crushed. And I would learn, because it was so early in my career, but I would learn that, as you just said, this is pretty standard fare. It takes often a long time for a project to happen. I'm Curious George, the first Curious George film we made, it was 16 years. So, it just, these things take a long time.
David, Hocus Pocus fans would be very upset with me if I didn't ask this next question. What's going on with Hocus Pocus 2?
Well, putting a pandemic aside for a moment here, Disney Plus is moving forward with it. They've announced Adam Shankman as the director, and they're just trying to put all the deals together. I mean, obviously, I don't think anybody's going to get on a plane right now and Bet or Sarah Jessica Parker or Kathy Najimy or anybody else and go make this film in the middle of this. But the hope is that sometime next year that everything will begin on the film. They seem to really want to make it.
Have contracts been signed with those 3 actresses, do you know, or can you say, or is it just I know they've shown interest at this point, right?
I don't know if the contracts are done. I know they've all said that they want to do it. I know they've all given their notes on the script. And that's what I know so far. Okay,
very exciting. Well, William, I believe you have some more sketches there and such of scenes that maybe didn't make the final cut of the film, either were shot and hit the cutting room floor or never even shot from the original script. Can you share some with us?
Well, I can share one that I have here. This was a scene where the witches were gonna, waiting for the bus, we're gonna end up near a costume shop, and it was drawn by Giacomo Giazza, and for probably time reasons and whatnot, it was cut. These were all the kind of ideas that we kept, giving to Kenny to sort of sift and look at, and David probably weighing in on, what's relevant and what's too much and whatnot. So
yeah. Now,
yeah, I'd like to. Can I show one picture, Jeff?
Please do. Yes.
This is Kenny in the streets of Salem, and that's the great hero Narita that shot the picture. And he did such a beautiful job on the sets and shooting Salem and Marblehead. And it's just one of the few pictures I have of those two sort of, we were scouting, I believe, when we shot this, trying to figure out how to shoot Salem. So I just want to always remember what a wonderful picture the cinematographer shot. I always talk about Mary, how wonderful her costumes were. I mean, this is pre-CGI, and she layered those costumes with all the fabrics that would flow with a fan on stage. It was really done the old-fashioned film way. And so many interesting people were on that film to make that come alive like that. So I just wanted to make sure Hero got a little nod here. He's such a wonderful guy.
Well, one of the great things about this film is, you did go to the real place, right? You went to Salem, but you did shoot a lot around LA. I believe Pasadena. I know the Warner Brothers Studios lot, the Disney lot, stuff like that. And the thing that's really kind of incredible, that's all Warner Brothers, right? William? He froze up on me, but I think
Warner lot. That's where Mex gets busted by the cop who says, "Are you this virgin?" and his girlfriend, and it doubled for Salem and a lot. They had to, pretty sweet little back lot back there in those days. I guess it's being all torn out now, but yeah, we have a lot of location pictures of different Max Dennison houses that weren't chosen by all of us and by Kenny, and I have a lot of location pictures, just, searching Marblehead, of, looking at different cemeteries, looking at different homes, looking at different pieces. And we shot for, and then eventually we came back here. We shot in the West Adams district. We shot in Whittier, turned Whittier into Halloween right at Christmas time, which was a real crazy thing for everybody down there. And, it was fun. We shot a lot here, but we shot for about a week and a half in Salem and Marblehead. So that was fun. We captured all of that. And, we were back there at the 300th year anniversary of you know, what happened. You know, all the things depicted in the Crucible, and the, you know, and the killing of these poor women, and the stoning of the man, and whatnot. So it was pretty heavy to be back there shooting this. It's really interesting for me.
Yeah, what I was going to say was one of the cool things was, even though you shot in so many different locations so far apart, it's so cohesive. Like the entire film, anybody watching that movie wouldn't be able to tell the difference between a backlot shot and the real
Well,
Salem. And it, yeah,
we had a really great location. Lori Bolton, who's actually runs the Location Managers Guild most of the time, and she was terrific. Rosemary Brandenburg has just finished the new Star Wars film, and she's much in demand. So, you know, we managed to get a lot of interesting, cool people on that show, and that's why that, you know, that house that we built, you could walk in the gates, walk up the road, walk in the house, and you could shoot anywhere you wanted in that house, because every piece of wood was hand hewn with square nails and aged, and you know, there was no phony vibe there. So it was pretty crazy to be on that set. And then we had a whole big cemetery next to it, and crypts for the kids to run through. It was really amazing. I can see when Thora was on stage at Midsummer Scream last year, I asked her about that, and she mentioned it to me a couple of times over the years. Can you imagine being a 10-year-old? I mean, she's a very precocious 10-year-old, but can you imagine being a 10-year-old and walking on that stage every day to go to work? I mean, she said it was crazy, so cool.
yeah.
I'm a grown-up, and it was crazy cool.
Now, Hocus Pocus is one of those films that seems to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger each Halloween. I honestly predict this may be the biggest Halloween ever for it, upcoming this October, because, you know, a lot of people are going to be celebrating this holiday from their homes this year. And we already know that that I believe it's Freeform has their 31 Nights of Halloween, and they show Hocus Pocus an unprecedented amount of times, it seems, every single year. And David, you know, we've talked about in the past how originally this film was a flop and it was severely disappointing for you. But when was like that turning point, do you think? Was it about 10 years ago or so?
No, actually about 5 or 6 years after the film came out, Disney just kind of threw it onto the Disney Channel, and there was a big uptick in viewership. And they thought, that's interesting. And so they tried it again at another point in October, and the same thing happened. And from there, it's just built over all these years, and it is now on of the Disney channels. It is the most watched movie of all time. It's surpassed E.T. and Nightmare Before Christmas and Harry Potter. It just, people, I don't know, it's like on a cold, rainy night, pulling up a comfy blanket. And I think that Hocus Pocus seems to do that to people. They just seem to, even though they've seen it 10,000.
You got your revenge.
There's drinking games all across in colleges, where every time the word book is said, kids take a shot. There are parties where people have to dress as the characters. I'm just surprised that as people get older, they don't want to leave it to their childhood. They really want to continue to celebrate it. And wow, I don't think any of us knew at the time. I mean, all of us loved Halloween, but I don't think any of us truly understood. I certainly didn't.
Yeah.
Just how much life this thing would have.
Yeah. Now, we were talking about the upcoming sequel a little earlier, and I'm curious. I mean, how many discussions of sequel has there been? Because I believe at one point there was a Disney Channel discussion, then it became a Disney Plus. How many years has this sequel thing been going through your mind, Disney's mind? When did you first hear about that?
Well, I'm the one that brought it to the Disney Feature Group and said, hey, you know, look what's happened. It's become such a big property since we came out. What do you think about making a sequel? And I had a whole presentation where Billy was standing there, and artwork and all kinds of ideas. And it took them 6 months, but 6 months later they passed on it. And of course I was devastated again. And then I asked my attorney if he could speak to them and see if we could bring it over to the Disney Channel, since it's had such success there. So we were able to do that. We sold it there in the room, and we were moving forward with a couple drafts. And then Disney Plus came along, and they and the feature group said that they would like to continue with this. So it is now with them, and we're doing it under the Disney Plus banner with a great budget, a better budget.
Fantastic.
At just the Disney Channel.
Great. Well, David, William, thank you so much. I could talk to you guys all day for many hours. In fact, I have about Hocus Pocus. So if anybody wants to hear more from these folks and even more folks who worked on Hocus Pocus, I highly suggest checking out these podcast episodes at DizneyCoastToCoast.com, 551, 577, 581, and 669. So much Hocus Pocus goodness. Take a screenshot if you'd like right there. And David and William, thank you for making Halloween even more awesome. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Take care. Great seeing you both.
Nice seeing you, David, Jeff.
Bye.